everybody, Floating Magical Qualia Quartz here, and I am here in my very first ever Minecraft world. I created this in very late August 2012, that's when I first began playing. The version of the game was 1.3, it had just recently come out. Spawn was around over here. I have no idea what happened here. I don't think I fought the Wither here. Wait, did it just... Oh, it did just randomly generate like this back then. Oh my gosh, that's a nostalgia trip. Right? Unless I'm going crazy. These stone patches. That was something that was like removed in maybe 1.7 or something. This is so funny. This stone patch, I think, is going to give me more nostalgia today than anything else that I built here. This was my first ever hidey hole. I dug into this cliffside right here, and I had a little hallway up here. I had a little lookout so I could see when it was daytime, when it was nighttime. This is what got me to play Minecraft, was watching my brother make a hole in the side of a mountain and thinking to myself, you have so much freedom with that. You can make it go any which way you want. You can carve it out however big or however long you may want it to be. That freedom is what got me to start playing. And eventually, I was looking for a hill to build my house on. And this is pretty pathetic, especially compared to today with the mountains that we've got, but this was the tallest hill that I could find in the area, and so I built my first ever house right here. And same thing with the caves. The ability to just build whatever was so fascinating to me, so I was like, why not just build it as tall as I want it? Why not just keep going up? So that's what I did. And on this first floor here, you can tell this building is mostly just cobblestone. Very unlike me today, but every single level I labeled and I had a specific purpose for it. This is the floor where I kept the enemy spoils, and I guess they would be over here. Well, I kind of moved everything out of this house since then because I got better houses in this world later on. Stupid room. I literally named this room Stupid Room. Level 3 was really cool, the lookout / tree room. So I just had a tree grow in the middle here, which was really cool. Of course, everything was really cool at the time. And then I made these lookout towers out here stretching out, and I could look over the land around me with safety. Back when survival was like really surviving, this was really cool. Okay, this next floor is a little farm for animals. Now there used to be a lot of cows in here. I wanted everything to be in the tower so that I wouldn't have to mess with the scary outside world. So yeah, I brought the animals up here. I guess I've since killed them? I'm not sure why. There is just now one lone chicken. This is the glass room. I just wanted a whole wall of glass. I put my little symbol here on the bottom, the KML symbol. Level 6, the magic supply room. You can see I started giving these rooms more of a purpose. This was the brewing center. I've since moved all the brewing stands and everything out of here. It's funny, instead of just making more, when I made a new house, I decided to just take everything out of the old ones and put them in the new ones. Pretty funny. Yeah, this is really obvious. Like, gee, I wonder what this could be. Yep, there's my nether portal. Pretty obvious. I had a little chest to keep my stuff, just in case I died in there. Once again, like, every little thing you learn back then is just so cool. Like, oh, you could hide a secret place behind a painting. Level 7 is just an open air farm. This one's a little taller, and the rest of the tower is basically on stilts. So I had a farm for everything that was in the game at that point, even including the nether wart. And then up here, we have the rail system. Now this was the most interesting thing I did in this world, I believe. My method of getting around, because this was before elytras and when the world was all super scary and you were super vulnerable, my method was to just make sky highways with all the excess cobblestone from mining. This is basically what I dumped all of my gold and my redstone into, and I just connected all my houses around the world with these sky highways. This one goes to the village house of the first village I ever found. This one goes to the obsidian house, which I built on top of an actual big hill. And I don't know why the sign's gone on this one, but this one goes to the desert house, which is one of my favorite houses on this world. So at this point of the tower's construction, it's obvious I'm kind of branching out, building other houses out in the world. So I didn't really continue this tower that much beyond this point. Not in terms of it being a house, but I did decide to make a dungeon up here. For whatever reason, I wanted a dungeon. I don't know why I would already be stumped here. Like, I get it. The button's a little hard to see on cobblestone, Is that the whole thing? Was I supposed to see the lever through the door and think, oh no, there's no way I can pull that. Gosh, how do I do this? There's some funny things in here, like, oh, here's the rainbow bathroom. You can kind of see that jutting out from the outside. Just random inside jokes between my friend Cody and I sprinkled in here. Here we are in a tiny little labyrinth, and I felt as though Netherrack felt the dungeon theme, I guess. Wow, here's a really, really cool original joke. Good job. Comedy gold me from 2012. See, like, I hadn't even played Portal at that point yet. I just knew it from the funny memes. Haha, you're really slow, you need to work out. Okay, I do admit that's a pretty good one. Oh, this is so funny. This is like one of my first rudimentary redstone things. I did not understand redstone at all. And I still don't, but like, wow. The redstone is just out in the open. It's not even subtle. The fact that I had to put these holes here because I didn't know how else to connect those pistons. So I guess the idea is you have to push the button and then, get up here as fast as you can. Go around here, flick this lever, and then you'd be able to get up to the next floor. All of this, dungeon in the sky, built on top of the footprint of my tower. I don't know why I did that. Oh, and then there's this alternate path over here that you can take, where if you take this path, you're pretty much... you have to go back. There's no way back. But to be honest, this is a pretty comfy little room. And I don't know, the idea of just making this big dungeon with all these rooms and branching pathways, it was a really fun idea. And I want to come back to that. This fucking quill. Okay, it literally just says F you. Alright, cool. Cool book. How old was I in 2012? I think I was 15. If I had gone the right way, then I would have to cross this incredibly hard parkour challenge. Yeah. Wow. See, glass panes existed at the time. I don't know why I didn't use those. Like, if I was trying to make this a challenge, that would have been the way to do it. This too, like, okay, I gotta get around, but like, dude, shifting. Shifting has been in the game this whole time. There's nothing hard about that. And then you get to the nether brick floor that I never finished. Now, I could take the Sky Railway for old time's sake, but it's pretty slow. I'm just gonna get there and admire the 1.3 terrain. Look at how flat the world used to be. Like, I get it. A lot of people these days are kind of like feeling like there's not enough flat spaces to build, but I don't know. I definitely think there needs to be a better balance between the 1.18 generation and the flatness from before. Shout out to mob spawning on this platform because I technically never fully lit it up. Okay, this is my second ever house, I'm pretty sure. It's either that or the third, but very, very simple design. At this point I realized, oh, logs? You could actually build with those. You don't have to turn them into planks. They actually look good in a structure. And considering this is one of the first roofs I ever did, I think this is pretty cool. This might just be me not realizing that stairs linked up between the planks and instead just putting the planks there as a compromise. Regardless, that's a pretty cool roof for my second house ever, I'd say. The actual building though is basically just a perfect square with 4 rooms that kind of just feed into each other. And you could just kind of walk infinitely in a circle here between all these rooms. I guess this is the cooking room, this is the sleeping room / attic entrance. This is the ender chest room, and this room kind of just exists. What did the attic look like? What was even up here? Absolutely nothing. But having an attic in general, that's pretty cool. Okay, the village is a little weird because, you know, this is ancient Minecraft. I guess at some point I completely tore down this building or something. I know I spent a lot of time out here simply grinding out a bunch of the farming stuff and trading for a bunch of emeralds. And I guess this was my temporary cobblestone pillar to let me know where it was, kind of like a beacon. When I'm out there in the world, I can see that and go, oh, I know where to go. Not that my render distance was ever very high back then. The world is so old that it just stopped loading the chunks in front of me, and I quit the world, and it's still saving like several minutes later. What is going on? I think I have to restart my game. That was weird, but I'm back at the tower, and I think I should highlight my first ever mine in general. Here's the hallway underneath the tower, and if I go over here, this connects up to my first ever big digging area. I've mostly covered it up with dirt up there so I didn't fall down and die, but before I knew about strip mining or anything, I just kind of made a big hole, and then I made a big hallway, and then I made a big room, and apparently I made a sewer? Or something. Wow, yeah. Why did I dig like this? Bro, This was not efficient at all. Also, I'm so used to 1.18 lighting that I'm just not used to seeing creepers in a room that's pretty lit up. Crazy to think that that was normal. Also crazy to think about is that this used to be like the highest thing that could generate. This extreme hill, which back in the day was pretty tall and impressive looking. I mean, it's definitely still tall, it's just not anywhere near as tall as it could be. This is my third ever house, unless it was my second. I'm kind of lost on which one came first between this and the village house. The idea behind the obsidian house was, what if I built a house that a creeper could not hurt in any way? A creeper-proof house. And because obsidian is super annoying to grind out, it's incredibly small. And it's also funny to me that I used glass here instead of something like iron bars, when the whole theme of this place was to be like creeper-proof, but glass is not creeper-proof at all. But building on top of this genuine big hill was one of my first times actually utilizing the land around me with where I built. So long as I had the top of this hill lit up, which I guess I never actually did, then this place was kind of like a cool little safe haven. And of course I built myself a funny little diving board out of dirt. I got a farm that has since frozen over, which I guess highlights one of the changes that has happened since 1.3. And then this down here, this leads down to the emerald mine, because the extreme hills were the only place where you could find the emeralds as ore. I don't know, between the village house and this house, it seemed like getting emeralds was my sole purpose in life. Pretty funny to look back on, like, why was I trying to get so many emeralds? Just for the novelty of it? Because it had a cool texture? So then this rail line can take you over to the desert area, and this rail line that goes over this forest goes over my first ever stronghold. It's somewhere down there. But this is one of my first houses that I built that I was actually like, wow, this looks cool. I put a little more thought into the design of this one. I wanted to have some outer protection. I put up these walls when 1.4 came out. I had a moat. I had cactus walls. The funny thing is, looking back, like, all a zombie has to do to get in here is simply walk across this bridge. And it's really not that hard to enter this place. But yeah, I had a house in the center. I had an animal farm over here, a crop farm over here. I had 4 things on each of these corners. I had one of these naturally generated wells that was already here that I incorporated into the build, and it actually was also my mining entrance. I would go down here, there's my portal, and this is where I mined. And then I had the enchanter, my ender chest, which I always seem to build a big thing for. And then I guess this is just a tree, but I guess it might have been just where I harvested some wood, if I ever needed wood. There's also this area back here that I added a little after to also get more wood. Inside here, I once again kind of stripped this house of the things that I had inside of it, instead of just making new things, new furnaces. Again, really funny to look back on, especially considering I replaced them with pumpkins. But yeah, this was one of the first builds that I built, and I incorporated color into it. I thought that the greens were very desert colors. It makes sense, you know. The green dye is obtained from cactus after all. I built a storage basement. Oh, I guess I kinda just made a storage hole. And then one day, a few months later, I decided I wanted to do a tree house. We had land worlds with my family every once in a while, and my brother started doing this thing where he'd design a treehouse out of one of these big oak trees, and I just started doing this thing where I kept on layering trees on top of each other to make this giant treehouse. Again, the mere concept of a giant treehouse that you can modify and expand in any which way you want, super cool sounding, right? These were the things that got me hooked on Minecraft. Anyways, this was like the cooking area. And look at this little lookout onto the funny little rainbow bridge for a floating sky base that I never actually really completed. Oh, also worth noting how much I flattened the land around here. Like, looking back, it wasn't that much terraforming, but I definitely tried to flatten this area a little bit, just so, I don't know, the land around me was just less busy, and I had a cleaner surface to build from. Second floor a little bigger, and then I guess this was the bedroom. Third floor was a bit of the living room. This is where the anvil used to be. Lay living room of fanciness. I have no idea why this room is French, but I guess it is. Here's a little balcony, kind of surrounded by leaves. Pretty. And then this floor is kind of just out in the open a little bit, but then there's this little room here, and I think I had a few of these kind of for rent. Yeah, up top here I have a room for rent. I was literally a landlord back in 2012. It's pretty obvious at this layer of the treehouse that I kind of got to this point where I was like, you know what? I don't really feel like building it up anymore. So the next big thing I did, it is really weird seeing a dolphin in this really old world. The next big thing I did was make this rainbow bridge up to the sky and it's something that you can actually climb up. This is actually like stairs that you can walk up. And then it got you to this big end stone island. I decided this is what I wanted to do with the end stone that I got from the end. Back in the day, end stone was one of the most out there extravagant blocks, and I wanted to use it for something. So I figured, since it's kind of a floating island in the end, then I kind of lore-wise can make it so that this is like a floating rock. And I was gonna build some Greek temple or something up there, but I guess I never actually did it. I guess I also never finished the purple part. Pretty funny. So the railway continues beyond the desert house into my storage tower. It is at this point in the world, I think it's like 2013 now. I don't have enough room in my chests for all the stuff that I've collected. So I made a giant tower on this very small island, which I believe might have been man-made. No, there's definitely a little island here, but I decided to make it bigger myself. And then in here, you just got bulk storage of all the things that I had. That really was not that many diamonds looking back on it. Yeah, just all my excess junk ended up here. And it's kind of funny to look back on because, I don't know, I guess it's not that much stuff. The way I play these days, I would have expected a lot more of the stuff in here. And then of course, I never actually filled the entire tower with chests because I didn't really have that big of a bulk storage. But I wanted it to be all big and mighty, and I kind of wanted it to connect up with the railway anyways. It is at this point that things get a little weird. So in 2013, near the end of the year, the update 1.7 came out. The update that changed the world, and this was the first really big world generation changing update since I started playing. And it remained the biggest one all the way up until 1.18 came out. And look at that. This is what happened on the edge of where the 1.6 and before generation reached up with the 1.7 generation. There was absolutely no blending like 1.18 has, which is honestly really cool looking, and it's kind of a cool document to kind of see how much of my world I had actually generated before this update. So we now leave the old world generation and enter the new. I'm gonna go a little out of order here and start with a build that I did in the summer of 2015. Actually, as you can tell by the ocean monument, I don't think I actually ventured that far out here until after 1.8. I believe when 1.7 came out, I was mostly focused on a different world that I kind of didn't really play on that much. In creative, I had designed the lighthouse from my comics, the KML, and I never actually finished building it here because it's pretty resource intensive. I used redstone blocks for whatever reason, and the quartz is a bit of a grind as well. This entire lighthouse would be a redstoner's dream to just mine down and turn into observers and everything. And look at how thick it is. Like, I get it, I wanted the interiors to be comic accurate, but like, this looks just so bulky and awkward from the outside, it's actually kind of funny. I mean, this is the first lighthouse that I ever designed, so I can't pick on myself too hard. I mean, compare it to the tower from the beginning, I was definitely learning along the way. Ooh, that's a nice floating hill. So we continue to follow this sky highway that I never finished, and we get to what was, and what probably still is my favorite biome in the entire game, the giant spruce forest. The mega taiga, or what is now called the old growth taiga. And alongside the desert house, this is my favorite build in the world. I just made a giant log cabin. This is one of the biggest houses that I'd ever built at this point. For me, this was a full-on mansion. And I mean, yeah, it is pretty big. Yeah, I can tell this was a 1.8 house. I'm looking at the banner up here. The dark oak doors. That wasn't a thing when I began playing. So the funny thing about this house is, I built it up so big. Why are there dogs everywhere? Why is there a zombie in here? I built it so big that I didn't know how to fill it. So there's kind of just a lot of empty space in here. Look at this glorious bedroom looking out over the land, and it's literally just the beds, and I didn't decorate it any further. I was not very good at interior decor. Here's the smelting area on the second floor. And here's the rest of the second floor. It's literally just empty. I guess there's some chests over here. That's about it. And then the attic. The attic is so empty except for this enchantment table. It is at this point that I felt as though the go big or go home mentality just wasn't worth it because there's really not that much stuff you can put inside of your house. Pretty funny considering now I'm like filling entire towns. Anyways, there's also this other outside section of the house. And this one actually did have a cool interior. I had vines, flower pots, tree leaves, an armor stand, couches. I don't know why, but I put all of my interior decor in here, and then I just never bothered with the rest of the house. Also, apparently a secret passageway into my brother's house, because We did LAN a lot. I don't know why this is Prismarine. I guess it was new and I wanted to use it somewhere. But yeah, this is like a little secret entrance into my brother's area. He opted to dig his cabin into the mountain, and I think it was really cool looking back. At the time, I would definitely say that my brother was far exceeding me in terms of building. I believe I kind of took what he was doing with the floors here, and I tried to do that in the mansion, although it didn't come out nearly as good. I guess it never really got super completed. It's a little sparse in here. But yeah, you can kind of see I was trying to do something with the floors here, and looking back, this could be a whole lot better. I kind of just did rings in every room, and that was it. Now, there is one really cool thing about this house that I do have to say I do admire a lot. Whee! Yep. So when the slime blocks were introduced, this is the only thing I could think to use them for. An ultimate trampoline. Why not? And it was also a pretty fun way to enter the mining area. And then when you got back up from the mining area, I was able to go through this little tunnel that I made here, through this hill, and kind of have this look up the mansion as I returned. It was pretty cool feeling, and I do admit that was a good design. Being able to kind of re-enter my area that way simply from mining, pretty smart. I don't think I built anything else over here. I feel like traditionally I've always made like fishing huts on the rivers here, but I didn't do it in this world. And because of horses and whatnot, I wanted to make like a horse travel path through the area. I guess it only ever made it as far as this dark oak forest. That's pretty cool. But that's mostly everything that I built in this world, and this world occupied a lot of my time in early Minecraft. Back in the day, I was actually pretty quick to make new worlds, so this wasn't the only world I was playing on, but this was the one that I was most consistently returning to. There were countless little worlds that I played on for like maybe 1 or 2 days and then abandoned, but this is one that I've spent months in. So yeah, this was a really fun, nostalgic look back on my first several years playing Minecraft. Thank you for watching. I want to highlight some of my other major solo worlds from my time playing Minecraft after this one, so if you want to see that, stick around. And stay tuned for Voiteka, the world that I use between 2016 and 2020. This is the funny sheep that you see at the end of the video. You see it and you laugh. You see it and you laugh. Laugh at it. Laugh! 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 Okay, seriously, why are they even up here? Why are you on top of this tree? Laugh! Laugh. Please laugh at the sheep.